Do you want to go against the grain but still play characters that are viable and will still get you wins in your ranked environment? Well then listen up, because in this guide I'm going to be breaking down the top 5 most underrated heroes in Season 18 that you can use and still get guaranteed value. Are you serious about winning a lot more of your games? GameLeap.com is the only place that has high quality guides on every hero that you'll need in Season 18 meta. We have in-depth courses on all heroes covered in this video, from specific tips and tricks to Grandmaster VOD reviews that will teach you all you need to know to rank up fast. Come check us out on the link down below. Kicking it off at number 1, one of the most underrated DPS heroes in Season 18 is Junkrat. Now Junkrat has one of the highest win rates in GM and also has one of the consistently highest win rates across the board. Junkrat is one of the few heroes that can actually pressure shield health, especially if paired with another shield break character. Unlike most heroes that are left helpless to both the Orisa and Sigma barrier, Junkrat can adequately burst it down and put a lot of pressure on the enemy team. If you and your allies can adequately focus the shield, Junkrat has the firepower in order to break through and still have a window of time for his team to adequately win the team fight. In addition to this, Junkrat has a lot of game against the 2 strongest DPSs in this meta. Both Reaper and Doomfist can cause a lot of problems for both your supports and your tanks in this meta. However, Junkrat can adequately stop both of these DPS. Junkrat has a lot of game against Doomfist. First off, he has a trap that he can lay in the middle of his team. This can stop Doomfist from hard engaging and can trap him if he engages sloppily onto your team. Because of your mine, you can easily 2-shot a Doomfist that doesn't hard commit and doesn't gain enough shields. Furthermore, you can easily peel for both your tanks and your supports because of the CC knockback on Doomfist. Because of Junkrat's mobility, it is hard for Doomfist to easily engage on you. As long as you keep track of his positioning, you can either burst him down or use your mines to get away. Now moving on to your matchup with Reaper, Reaper needs to become really close to both your tanks and your supports in order to get kills. Junkrat can adequately zone him away and use his mine to force out Wraith and keep Reaper away from one-shotting your team. In this way, Junkrat can easily zone out a Reaper. And if the Reaper gets too close and isn't paying attention, Junkrat has a one-shot combo in mine plus left click. In summary, Junkrat can not only pressure shield health, but has strong game against both Doomfist and Reaper, and can adequately protect his team. This makes him an extremely strong and underrated pick in your ranked matches. Furthermore, because of the meta in its current state, many of the heroes that see play can't adequately focus down Junkrat's Riptire. Both Reaper and Doomfist have no long-range damage, and because of this, they can't do any damage to the tire once it engages. The only character that could do consistent damage to the tire is Sigma. However, due to the lack of range on his hyper spears, as long as you make your movements unpredictable, often you'll come into range to do damage with your Riptire before he can adequately burst it down. In this meta, often Riptire means a decisive team fight win. All of this combined makes Junkrat one of the most underrated DPS picks for this meta, Season 18. Moving on to number 2, we have another DPS pick that is extremely undervalued in this meta and can get you guaranteed value on certain maps in Season 18. Bastion is one of the strongest characters into this double shield meta, for some obvious reasons, but some reasons that you may not be thinking about. First off, Bastion is extremely good when playing with double shield. Not only do you get double shield protection, and Sigma can reroute his shield from multiple angles to stop potential attacks onto Bastion. Bastion can often put pressure into the enemy shield. In this way, he's one of the other characters, much like Junkrat, that can adequately destroy the enemy shield and put tons of pressure on him. The only problem with Bastion is you need to adequately get him in position. Now, the reason Bastion is extremely strong on payload maps is because when you set up on payload, you don't have to move. You can stay stationary. Now, this is one of the places that you can get value on Bastion, but it isn't the only place you can get value on Bastion. If you systematically move in certain places of maps, you can often get value against double shield. Keep in mind that you want to shoot down the enemy shield as much as possible. Destroying a Sigma shield can mean that he doesn't have it to reposition later. So, don't think it's a waste of time to focus shields. In fact, that is your job while playing Bastion. Focus the shields as much as possible so that your teammates and your other DPS can adequately focus on the enemy team, get ult charge, and win the team fight. There'll be some examples of a Sigma shield or an Orisa barrier peeking out the bottom or the sides of walls. When this happens, burst them down and put all your damage into them. Even if only a bit of the shield is peeking out, you can still do damage to the overall shield health, thus breaking the shield for your team, and you can do it completely free of danger without being able to be punished. Furthermore, Bastion is extremely strong against one of the most predominant DPS in the meta, Doomfist. The reason Bastion is so strong against Doomfist is because unlike almost everything in the game, Bastion cannot be punched out of his turret form. Doomfist punching something against the wall is one of the biggest ways he has in order to do damage to them. Furthermore, Uppercut will not remove Bastion from turret form. So in this way, Doomfist has very little game against a Bastion. If a Doomfist engages on your team, as long as you track him properly, Bastion can burst him down and Doomfist can't do anything to Bastion. Keep in mind the Doomfist location as you're transitioning away from turret form and walking to reposition yourself. If a Doomfist engages you while you're walking, it is extremely easy for him to punch you into a wall, and that is an opportunity for him to punish you. Wait for times when Doomfist is too far away to engage, or when he's actively disengaging in order to reposition yourself. Another thing to keep in mind is that Sigma can actually accretion you with his giant rock even when you're in turret form. This is because accretion applies a knockback that knocks Bastion out of turret form. If you get accretioned, Doomfist has an opportunity to follow up on you. Try to play with your team and reposition often. Lastly, something important to think about when playing Bastion is the enemy team's ultimates. When you're playing on the card as Bastion, you don't need to be thinking about many things, only trying to get value out of doing damage to enemy shields and doing damage to enemy health bars. While you're there, take this as an opportunity to try to track enemy ultimates. Sometimes while you're rolling through them, they won't get many, but if the enemy team is adequately spamming you and your tanks, you need to keep track, knowing when the enemy team's Sigma has a gravitic flux can change how you and your teammates position. Often, if you set up a crossfire with you and your team, where you and your Orisa stay on cart, but some of your other teammates spread out, it makes it harder for the Sigma to get a guaranteed fight win off of gravitic flux. Use the idle nature of Bastion to fully focus on the enemy team's ultimates. If you can adequately track the enemy team's ultimates and relay that to your team, it gives you a leg up in the competition and can lead to many more teamfight wins. Moving on to the next hero on our list, Ashe is extremely underrated DPS in this season 18 of Overwatch. Ashe resides in that sweet medium range, less than that of a Widowmaker, but less lethal at close range than McCree. However, her coach gun and dynamite are key to her being successful in this meta. You can throw dynamite above the Orisa shields, and with proper timing, you can easily get giant dynamites onto the enemy team. This allows you to build ult charge and put a lot of pressure on the enemy supports to keep their team up. This allows Ashe to do a lot of damage through barriers and create pressure on the enemy team. Ashe's Coach Gun is an extremely powerful ability. Against the predominantly played 2 DPS, Doomfist and Reaper, Coach Gun allows you to not only adequately duel them, but zone them away from your team. Because of Coach Gun's knockback, often using it on a Reaper or a Doomfist will not only disrupt their play, but will force them to retreat. Furthermore, Ashe has a long range, so during their engage and during their retreat, she can put damage into them. Something you need to think about when playing Ashe is you should be playing the high ground. Coach Gun is extremely powerful. It allows you not only to zone yourself away from DPS, but it allows you to take the high ground instantly. A Reaper that teleports onto an Ashe that's on high ground will have a hard time chasing the Ashe if the Ashe can drop down the low ground and then use her Coach Gun back up to the high ground. It makes the pursuit extremely hard, which means that Ashe is extremely hard to dive. A play pattern that you often want to see when pushing through certain areas is try to take the high ground on Ashe. You can watch over your tanks and supports and protect them from dives from Reaper and Doomfist. And because of a lot of the things I just mentioned, it is extremely hard for Reaper and Doomfist to dive in Ashe. If a Reaper or Doomfist don't respect you, a headshot plus dynamite is lethal and can put a lot of pressure on them. Hitting a headshot on an unsuspecting DPS will often win you the teamfight convincingly and allow your team to push the objective. This combination of both offensive and defensive capabilities from Ashe in the current meta allow her to be one of the most underrated DPS picks of Season 18. Moving away from the DPS, we're going to be breaking down a hero that is not only viable, but is actually the 7th most played hero in GM. Just outside the meta 6 defined heroes is Wrecking Ball. Now, Wrecking Ball is a character that is extremely hard to play. Wrecking Ball is one of those characters that if you put the time into learning him, you can get a lot out of him and you can completely hard carry some games. Wrecking Ball against the traditional meta, often what you want to do is you want to swing through the enemy team. You want to swing through the enemy team as much as possible without pile driving. When you pile drive, it's easy to get CC'd by both Doomfist and Accretion Rock from Sigma. Now, it is okay to slam in, but when deciding whether to slam in, you need to take some things into account. What cooldowns have my enemies used? Does Sigma have Rock that he can use onto me? Is Doomfist and Reaper there to follow up on damage if I get CC'd? These are things I need to ask myself. Furthermore, do you have shields when engaging? If you activate your shield ability, how much shields will you actually get? These are all important things to ask yourself when deciding whether or not you should engage with a slam or if you should just quickly dash to the enemy team. Another strong play pattern with Wrecking Ball is if there's a point, let's say a 2 CP point, such as Paris, everyone's favorite map. So what you could do as Wrecking Ball is often the enemy team want to be playing on that high ground when you're on attack. If you speed past the choke and go put pressure on the point, it can often pull the enemy team away. This pressure that you create simply by touching the point can often create space and openings for your teammates. Now, when the enemy team come to peel for you, you can easily go back to your teammates, or you can actively slam through the enemy team, causing more disruption. Keep this in mind. Now that you've done this, the enemy team's positioning can be off, and you've gotten damage into them by slamming through them. The trick here with Hammond is to do as much damage as possible and be as disruptive as possible without risking your life. Once you slam through the enemy team enough, you're going to be building up mines. Now, Hammond's mines are extremely powerful and can actually win teamfights by themselves. Because of the nature of double shield, often the enemy team will be grouped up together in giant balls. What you can do is then, you can actively slam through the enemy team, Go above them, activate your mines and slam down on them. This can often get multiple kills and can guarantee a team fight win for your team. At the very least, you'll create a lot of space and do a lot of damage to their shields so that your teammates can actively pressure them. Because of Wrecking Ball's movement abilities, you really need to be evaluating the risk versus reward of every play you make, and because of this, you should hardly ever die or ever get killed. If you're actively slamming into the enemy team and getting picked off, then you are just feeding and you're not committing any value to your team. Keep these tips in mind so you'll be able to master Wrecking Ball and have the insane impact that the character can provide for your team. Lastly, we're going to go into the most underrated support character for Season 18 of Overwatch. Mercy is not only extremely underrated in the current meta, in some situations she is the best support pick that you could possibly be playing. Mercy is the ultimate enabler, allowing her to enable her DPS to reach their maximum potential. Going along with this, Pharah is an extremely valuable pick to be playing in this meta. However, due to the unreliable healing of many of the healers, Pharah Mercy is a combo that can still get tons of value into double shield. Pharah can take alternate angles and pour damage into the backline. Unfortunately, due to the nature of this, Pharah is not often playing near enough to her supports in order to get adequate healing. Mercy solves this by being able to go with her and enable her to do the damage that she needs to get barrage and win the team fight convincingly. Other DPS on our list that deal with damage numbers, such as Junkrat or Ashe, can greatly benefit from a damage boost from Mercy. Mercy can allow these numbers to break in a way that allows you to put tons more pressure and break shields faster. A damage boosted Junkrat, for example, can destroy the enemy shields much faster, leaving you for a much wider window of punishing an enemy team's engage. Being able to alter these numbers and breakpoints is something that Mercy can specifically do that other supports cannot. Furthermore, Mercy's movement ability allows her to easily escape things like Reaper and Doomfist in a way that Baptiste or Ana cannot. When playing Mercy in your games, you need to be thinking about what DPS can you enable more in order to protect your tanks and secure teamfight wins. Keep this in mind, for this is the true power of Mercy, to not only heal their teammates, but support and enable them to reach their maximum potential and to complete tons more than they would ever be able to do alone. When looking back on this list, there are a few patterns that you can see forming. Because of just how oppressive double shield is, often you want characters that can do damage through a shield or actually have a chance at breaking the shield. Ashe and Wrecking Ball can both put damage through a shield, Junkrat and Bastion can both break a shield, and Mercy can enable these DPS to do these kind of things. Ultimately, it's about having characters that can still have impact even against double shield. While double shield is extremely powerful, these 5 underrated picks in Season 18 can definitely get you value in your ranked matches. Want to learn heroes like Junkrat, Wrecking Ball, and much more? It's time to take control of your games. We got you covered, and here's how. GameLeap.com offers the most extensive guides that you won't find anywhere else. All the characters in this video have in-depth guides by some of the best players in the world, breaking down step by step so that you can adequately prepare yourself in your ranked matches. In fact, we have hundreds of videos on every character in the game designed to help you gain that sweet SR and rank up in Season 18 of Overwatch. We're so confident that our product will help you that we offer a 10-day money-back guarantee. So come check us out risk-free in the links down below. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time.